Okay, so this is part 2 of line 18A3. There's going to be a lot of parts to it. It's going to go all the way up to line 13A3H so far as of February the 4th when I'm filming. That's where I'm at. So this one's called line 18A3B, Artificial Gravity, Centrifugal Coriolis Forces, Linear Acceleration Velocity 1G, UFO Speeds WOW Seti. It's part 106, and there's the alien radio signal from the WOW Seti. The equation came to 823.5294, and of course in line 18A there was a bunch of data that came up, and I've divided it into all these videos. So I'm just going to look at this calculation here. This is what came up. This is for a rotating spacecraft. Now isn't that interesting? Because the very beginning of this whole series is about a rotating UFO and how to build it. So I thought it was quite cool that we actually have a mathematical calculation theoretically of what they say needs to be done in order for us to do it. So I guess it's been a factor that they've actually tried to build these types of UFOs, and they haven't been able to perfect them, at least not publicly. Maybe in their own little Area 51 they've built something that we don't know about, but right now publicly we don't know about it. Okay? So this is line 18A3B, NASA create artificial gravity UFO engine design WOW Seti. Continue from the last line of data that comes up in my thoughts for February 2nd, 2012. Line 18A3A, the reactor vessel cell called NASA Arms ADSEP shuttle STS-95 GENIA WOW Seti. These two videos basically go together. Okay? So February 2nd, 2012, 10:42 p.m. My thoughts on lines 18A3A and 18A3B. Continuation of final data. Remember the vision of the spaceship that I started with in the beginning of this exercise? Here's the link to the index of all the videos. So I'm just going to do a quick refresher here in case you're just joining us. I've created an index at SETI WOW Alien Contact Index ideagirl.blogspot.com. Okay, and so far I've only put up to videos number, I'm filming at what, 107, and I've only got the first 54 links up. So basically what you do if you want to start the whole series from the very beginning is go to number 1 and click on the link there. This is the blog I'm putting on, the Victoria Stafford a Psychic Investigation.wordpress.com, but it's titled Paranormal UFO Ghost Stories and Dreams. Basically I blog all those things on this website. Not only do I do the alien stuff, but I do ghost stories, haunted stories, EVPs, paranormal activity, stuff like that. Anything that's interesting, anything that I find on the internet that I find interesting, I stick on this website. So with each video you'll find the notes that I've written in the video as well as the links that go with it. So if I go to this one here, I got some pictures with it as well. And the pictures based on the data and stuff, and then there's the video with the pictures. This one's about the data. This is about the Maya planet where we found it. Stuff like that. So the links are on the website here, and on the right here you've got to this thing here, or you can look at the date. This is the calendar here. Just look at the dates. You click on whatever day that you left off at, and you can look at the little subtitles and see if it's something you want to do. I also blog writers typing tunes on this blog, just so you know, if you're doing research or if you've got to type some notes up, you can listen to some music while you do it. I do all sorts of stuff. Anyways, that's that blog and the other one, just so you know. Those came up on here. So, and if you want to look at the UFO video, number 13, that's the one you want to look at in regards to this video, the line 18. It shows a picture of this. This is where I started talking about this UFO engine design idea that I had from a dream. Then I found there's actual sightings of UFOs that look the same as it. So where it rotates at a fast rate of speed on the outside of the ship and stays stationary in the middle. So this part here, the green part, it rotates really quickly, and it's got little spikes on the outside to brush away debris. And then inside here, this sits still. That's kind of like the engine room. So, okay, so I wonder if this is what they use to create artificial gravity for the UFOs. Now, I didn't know why do they rotate so fast. I first thought it was because they do it to keep the debris away from the UFO, but I'm actually finding out that according to these notes that came up on line 18A, by rotating that quickly, it creates a gravity within the shell here. So this thing rotating this way real quickly, like that, it creates gravity inside of here so that they can walk around and do their thing, right? So I'm wondering if that's why they do that. Okay? I believe I've come across some successful medical test results from around the world, papers, results, and findings for various tests. When it first came up in the line 18A, I thought, what on earth does this have to do with building a UFO engine? Seriously, I had data come up on kidneys and heart, blood pressure, bone density and stuff, and I didn't know what it had to do with this. I just figured, you know, I'm working on a UFO engine, what's all this stuff? These guys are getting very detailed in their mathematical equation. The stuff that's coming up doesn't just pertain. Actually, I'll read it to you because I'm tired. Well, it looks like this report is going to be more detailed than I ever thought. Not only do we discuss how to build a UFO engine, compartments, components, engine, gas, fuel, and mathematical equations to create a high rate of speed with axial velocity, we're also going to find out how to build the liftoff pad. Yes, you heard me right. Tower for the UFO to leave from Earth to outer space. And we're going to cover spacesuits, health issues, and problems that NASA has been able to solve for the past 35 years. And I'm not going to say that what I have to say is a solution to it, but based on the test results that I'm finding, it could be a solution for them. Very good solutions too. It sounds like a lot of things, but honestly it's coming up in the data on lines 18A to Z. Now I can see that this data will help solve the problems that NASA has with bone loss and immune systems. See in line 18Y. Yet to be researched as of February 2nd, 2012, 10:47 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So yes, when we get to line 18Y, we're going to talk about how to solve the problem of the bone loss and immune system. I did find some data that says that they've been doing tests as of January the 29th, 2012. So it's just been found out, or the test results have just been posted. They are from the other side of the world. I'm not sure, I don't remember. I've done so much, I don't remember where I found them. But anyways, that's something to look forward to. Okay? So I'm going to read this data here. The symbol pi comes up again in this. And then we've got, what I'm going to do is read the data, and then over on the right I've got a diagram beside it to explain what it means. So, quote to read, a rotating spacecraft will produce the feeling of gravity on its inside hull. The rotation drives any object inside the spacecraft toward the hull, thereby giving the appearance of a gravitational pull directed outward, often referred to as centrifugal force. The pull is actually a manifestation of the objects inside the spacecraft attempting to travel in a straight line due to inertia. The spacecraft's hull provides the centripetal force required for the objects to travel in a circle. If they continued in a straight line, they would leave the spacecraft's confines. Thus, the gravity felt by the objects is simply the reaction force of the object on the hull reacting to the centrifugal force of the hull on the object, in accordance with Newton's third law. From the point of view of people rotating with the habitat, artificial gravity, by rotation, behaves in some ways similarly to normal gravity, but has the following effects. Centrifugal force. This pseudo-force that appears in rotating reference frames gives a rotational gravity that pushes away from the axis of rotation. So let's go over here and see. There's a diagram explaining the calculations that go with it, and then exploring centrifugal forces. The acceleration m /s2 of an object moving in a circular path of radius r meters and having a period t seconds is given by the expression a equals 4 pi to r /t2. Therefore, the force F in newtons n required to keep an object of mass m kilograms moving in circular path is given by F equals 4 pi to mr /t2. I did it again. Oh my god. I get lost here. Sorry. Trying to click on the wrong thing. Okay, so I got this from a student activity page, by the way. A simple experiment to investigate the relationship between the centrifugal force, the rotational radius, and the rotation period can be performed using a short piece of plastic pipe, some sturdy string, some large bolts, a golf ball, and small sock. And that's under www.racetomars.ca. I guess it's a fun site where you can try different things. So the next thing we're going to talk about is the Coriolis effect. It gives an apparent force that acts on objects that move relative to a rotating reference frame. This force tends to curve the motion in the opposite sense to the habitat's spin. Effects produced by the Coriolis effect act on the inner ear and can cause dizziness, nausea, and disorientation. Experiments have shown that slower rates of rotation reduce the Coriolis forces and its effects. When I read this, it reminded me of the movie called Top Gun, where one of the pilots loses control of his jet and he crashes. He kind of went too fast up into the atmosphere, and that's what happened to him in the story. So this is, she can't stand up straight. This astronaut cannot stand up straight because of the Coriolis effect. It causes her upper body to move in the direction of the rotation so that she tumbles in the direction of the spacecraft's rotation. So basically she can't stand up straight. So next thing comes up is kinetic energy, and we've had that come up so many times in this thing. So kinetic energy, spinning up parts or all of the habitat requires energy. This would require a propulsion system and propellant of some kind to spin up or spin down, or a motor and counterweight of some kind, possibly in the form of another living area, to spin in the opposite direction, which was the basis of this. This spins this way and it stays stationary, and this spins around it, different direction. Okay. So in parts of the structure are intentionally not spinning, friction and similar torques will cause the rates of spin to converge, as well as causing the otherwise stationary parts to spin, requiring motors and power to be used to compensate for the losses due to friction. And there we have the mathematical equation again, where g equals the decimal fraction of Earth gravity, and r equals the radius from center of rotation in meters, and pi RPM equals revolutions per minute, which is 3.14159. Okay, there's more data here, but I've only, of course I bold it so I know to read it. The size and speeds and period of different radii of space station, the engineering challenges of creating a rotating spacecraft are comparatively modest to any other proposed approach. Theoretical spacecraft designs using artificial gravity have a great number of variants with intrinsic problems and advantages. To reduce Coriolis forces to livable levels, a rate of spin of 2 RPM or less would be needed. To produce 1 G, the radius of rotation would have to be 224 meters or 735 feet or greater, which would make for a very large spaceship. To reduce mass, the support along the diameter could consist of nothing but a cable connecting two sections of the spaceship, possibly a habitat module and a counterweight consisting of every other part of the spacecraft. So basically, based on the technology we now have, that's the way they would do it. It is also not known how effective low levels of gravity would be to countering the adverse effects on health of weightlessness. If brief exposure to high gravity can negate the health effects of weightlessness, then a small centrifuge could be used as an exercise area. So this is the properties of the spin gravity at 1g. The blue is the velocity, and r is the rotation period. And this is radius or radius. Sorry, I can't read it. It was all blurry, so just wanted to show you so you know what it looks like. So next thing that comes up is the Gemini 11 mission. Attempted to produce artificial gravity by rotating the capsule around the Agena target vehicle, which is attached to it by a 35-meter tether. Of course, I had to see what it was. So this is the Gemini 11. That's what it looks like. And this is the Agena target vehicle used in Gemini mission 8. Okay. Go back up here. Okay, they were able to generate a small amount of artificial gravity, about 0.00015 G, by firing their side thrusters to slowly rotate the combined craft like a slow motion pair of bolas. The resultant force was too small to be felt by either astronaut, but objects were observed moving towards the floor of the capsule. The Mars Gravity Biosatellite was a proposed mission meant to study the effect of artificial gravity on mammals. An artificial gravity field of 0.38 G. Mars gravity was to be produced by rotation. 15 mice would have orbited Earth, low Earth orbit, for 5 weeks and then land alive. Hey, Arthur and his relatives are going for a space thing. That would make a good little movie for kids. However, the program was canceled on June 24, 2009 due to lack of funding and shifting priorities at NASA. A lot of these projects, they stop them and then they kind of redo them and they add them in with something else and they combine them so that the cost is combined with other things. Next thing that comes up is linear acceleration. Linear acceleration, even at a low level, can provide sufficient g-force to provide useful benefits. Any spacecraft could, in theory, continuously accelerate in a straight line, forcing objects inside the spacecraft in the opposite direction of the direction of acceleration. Most chemical reaction rockets already accelerate at a sufficient rate to produce several times Earth's g-force, but can only maintain these accelerations for several minutes because of a limited supply of fuel. So basically they have the problem with the fuel burning up too fast when they do it. A propulsion system with a very high specific impulse, that is good efficiency in the use of reaction mass, that must be carried along and used for propulsion on the journey, could accelerate more slowly, producing useful levels of artificial gravity for long periods of time. A variety of electric propulsion systems provide examples. Two examples of this long-duration, low-thrust, high-impulse propulsion that have either been practically used on spacecraft or are planned in for near-term in-space use are Hall effect thrusters and variable specific impulse magnetoplasma rockets, VASIMR. Both provide very high specific impulse but relatively low thrust, compared to the more typical chemical reaction rockets. They are thus ideally suited for long-duration firings, which would provide limited amounts of but long-term milli-G levels of artificial gravity in spacecraft. Low-impulse but long-term linear acceleration has been proposed for various interplanetary missions. For example, even heavy cargo payloads to Mars could be transported to Mars in 27 months and retain approximately 55% of the LEO vehicle mass upon arrival into a Mars orbit, providing a low gravity gradient to the spacecraft during the entire journey. That's interesting because this Mars, when this article was written, they said it would take 27 months, and as of now, Mars 500, I'm not sure if they say it's going to take 17 months for them to get there. I think that's what it was. So they've knocked off about 10 months of travel time somehow. So obviously they've developed a faster rate of speed since this was written. Constant linear acceleration could theoretically provide relatively short flight times around the solar system, which is what the idea of the UFO engine is. It's not, oh, let's be like the aliens. It's actually, let's travel in space in a shorter period of time and save ourselves millions of dollars. That's what my idea is. If a propulsion technique able to support 1g of acceleration continuously were available, a spaceship accelerating and then decelerating for the second half of the journey at 1g would reach Mars within a few days. So can you imagine if it didn't have to decelerate? It could just go straight there. It wouldn't take very long, according to them. This effect of linear acceleration is very well understood and is routinely used for zero-G cryogenic fluid management for post-launch subsequent in-space firings of upper stage rockets. Mass, another way artificial gravity may be achieved, is by installing an ultra-high density mass in a spacecraft so that it would generate its own gravitational field and pull everything inside towards it. Technically, this is not artificial gravity, it is natural gravity. Gravity in its original sense. An extremely large amount of mass would be needed to produce even a tiny amount of noticeable gravity. A large asteroid could exert several thousands of a g, and by attaching a propulsion system of some kind would qualify as a spaceship, though gravity at such a low level might not have any particular value. In addition, the mass would obviously need to move with the spacecraft if the spacecraft is to be accelerated significantly. This would greatly increase fuel consumption. Because gravitational force is inversely proportional to the square of the distance from the center of the mass. It would be possible to have significant levels of gravity with much less mass than such an asteroid. Okay, let's not go there. Okay, in principle, some charged black holes could be used and held in position with electromagnetic forces. However, carrying a sufficient quantity of mass to form significant gravity fields in a spacecraft is well beyond current technology. I wonder if there's something you could build on the back of the spaceship and just back it up to the black hole. Oh, something to think about. Tidal forces. In a planetary orbit, artificial gravity can be obtained from the tidal force by two spacecraft above each other, or one spacecraft and another mass connected by a tether. So this is tidal forces. This is what tidal forces are talking about. The moon pulls the earth and the oceans towards it, and the moon pulls the oceans on both sides of the earth, and it creates a high tide on both sides. Low tide up at the top and high tide this way. So a similar effect to gravity has been created through diamagnetism. It requires magnets with extreme powerful magnetic fields. So they created these diamagnets here. And as you can see, this little steel thing here is floating above it. Okay? Diamagnetism levitates this pyrolytic carbon. Next thing that comes out is gravity generator gravitomagnetism. In science fiction, artificial gravity or cancellation of gravity or paragravity is sometimes present in spacecraft that are neither rotating nor accelerating. At present, there is no confirmed technique that can stimulate gravity other than actual mass acceleration. There's been many claims over the years. Eugene Podolekhnov, a Russian engineer, has claimed since the early 1990s to have made such a device consisting of a spinning superconductor producing a powerful gravitomagnetic field, but there has been no verification of it. In 2006, a research group funded by ESA claimed to have created a similar device. And the string theory predicts that gravity and electromagnetism unify in hidden dimensions and that extremely short photons can enter those dimensions. Buoyancy, an approximate to zero gravity, can be produced with buoyancy for space stimulations. The inertial and viscosity properties of a suspension fluid with a practical density, such as water, produces greater drag on the body than produced by either air or vacuum. Also, a human being's sense of which direction is up is not fooled, since the fluid in the inner air will settle in the down direction. The technique is nevertheless useful and practical in many situations. For example, NASA uses a large pool to train astronauts for extra-vehicular activity. So this is a diagram regarding the confirmation of gravomagnetism by gravity probe B. Ion Pegasize there. Frame dragging precision, geodetic precision. I guess that claims what. The next thing is gravity, the forces at work in buoyancy. Like something bobbing up and down in the water. So, as a review, these are the topics that came up in line 18, A3b. I'm not going to say them all, I'm just going to scroll down here. Okay? So you can get a basic idea of what we talked about. Some of these words, I guess, I've moved to line 18H. I'm going to Google them and see what comes up, because there's a lot of good stuff there. Okay, so February 3rd, 2012, 11:27 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, my thoughts. We are covering a lot of keywords in line 18A through B about UFO engine force, velocity, spin, rotation, and terminology used in astronaut talk. I've taken the keywords found in line 18A through B and separated them into a Google to-do search on line 18A through H. This section keeps growing and growing. So much to learn here about how an engine works and what is needed to get it to rotate properly, the amount of 1G force required, along with the mathematical calculations for torque and velocity plus linear acceleration. Quote, linear acceleration is the rate of change in velocity over a given time period of an object moving in one direction. This is a fairly basic concept in physics and is part of classical mechanics. The specific field in physics that deals with the laws of motion of non-atomic objects, the movement and behavior of atomic particles, is described in quantum mechanics. The simplest everyday example of linear acceleration is a car that is continuously speeding up along a straight road. There we have a race car. Okay? Quote, velocity is defined as the rate of change in position of a moving object over a period of time. In the International System of Units, SI, it is measured in meters per second, or m-s. Meters describes the change in position or distance, and second is the unit of time. A moving object that covers more distance for every unit of time is moving faster or has a higher velocity. A moving object is said to be accelerating when its velocity changes. Acceleration is measured in meters per second, or m forward. Okay, I'm not going to say it. So a car that is accelerating is increasing its velocity at a rate of 15 meters per second for every second it is moving. Quote, in principle, small charged black holes could be used and held in position with electromagnetic forces. However, carrying a sufficient quantity of mass to form significant gravity fields in a spacecraft is well beyond current technology. So basically, at the time of this writing, there was no way to do it yet. Things could have changed between now and then. I don't know. So tidal forces in celestial mechanics. Again, celestial mechanics has come up quite a few times before too. The expression tidal force can refer to a situation in which a body or material, for example, tidal water or the moon, is mainly under the gravitational influence of a second body, for example, the Earth. Okay, and you remember the diagram I showed you. So the perturbing force is sometimes, in such cases, called the tidal force, the perturbing force on the moon. It is the difference between the force exerted by the third body on the second and the force exerted by the third body on the first. Again, many of the words found in these particular quotes have already been discussed in detail in the WOW SETI lines 1 to 18A. My idea was to use the power of the black holes and relativistic jet propulsion particles to get from points A to B while traveling in and around the universe. The Maya aliens have said that they use two black holes to travel from one side of the universe to another. NASA has confirmed that two black holes exist. See NGC 6240. See these videos to read the alien mathematical equation I got from a meditation in January 21st, 2012. Part 101A is line 17T4A, UFO black hole, travel universe, jet velocity, Pythagorean theorem, Wow Seti. The Maya alien sketches and math equation received. The old title given the video is Part 101B. Actually, I'm not going to read it all to you. See that? The new title. That's what it says there. So for line 18, I was going to start doing a cross-reference of everything, and it got all haywire. I actually started that with line 18A, and then it just went nuts with the amount of data. As you can see, this video is 30 minutes long. This is the longest video I've made so far. Literally, I've gone from one video to another. Around 35 videos are in this section alone. Because of the amount of data, I've had to split it about 10 times for each section. It's very dry and long and hard to do, but it's going to be worth it all in the end. Once we determine what it is that we need to build a UFO engine, along with man's theories and test results from all the data that I've found so far, we should be able to come up with something from all of this. There's a pattern in this binary code that's very interesting. Have you noticed that in the past 107 videos that we find out new things? Then within 10 videos that topic is explored thoroughly and we learn even more from it. As of line 17, I started to create a list of tags based on all words that are important in the videos. Since this section pertains to the actual functioning of a UFO engine, I figured we could use the words for our cross-referencing in the end. Yes, I'm going to put it off until we get to the very last video on line 27. There are hundreds of lines of data in the Wow Seti signal. I'm only deciphering the mathematical equations found in and around the Wow signal 6EQUJ5. As of February 3rd, 2012, I filmed 107 videos from the Wow Seti alien radio signal, plus the answer to my satellite message to the aliens. So far you've seen two math equations and all the data found in them. I've gotten another alien math equation that is part 2 of the velocity equation. It goes into a lot of detail word-wise. I haven't had time to look at it yet. I wrote it down and created a file for it. I was planning to post it at the end of line 18, which was like line 18Z, but now I think I'm going to have to post it at the end of the section of videos called line 18A3. Series. So far I'm up to line 18A3H, and that has a list of things to do on Google. This was a long one. I apologize. I did divide this particular video up, no word of a lie, 10 times, and I still didn't get it as short as I wanted. But anyways, that's part 106, okay?